Hey, this is Dawson from where you can watch, learn, and fly. Welcome back to another episode of Journey to A License. In today's video, we're going to be going over dirt diving. If you're new here, we'd love for you to join the team by subscribing to the channel. And if you enjoyed this video, smash that like button. Let us know your questions and comments down below. So welcome to the Gear Counter. Now considering we're going to be using this to skydive, we need to make sure that it's working properly. So in last week's episode, we talked about how to plan a skydive. And so in this week's episode, the next step is to actually practice that, which is why we're going to be talking about dirt diving and mental rehearsal. If you don't know what dirt diving is, it basically means practicing the skydive on the ground. And the mental rehearsal is our visualization of that jump by ourselves in our own mind. So there are two key times that we want to do our dirt dive. The first dirt dive that we're going to want to do is right after we finish planning our jump. This is going to be the first walkthrough that we're going to have, and we're going to want to iron out all of the fine details of the skydive. The second dirt dive that we're going to do is once everybody has their gear on. This is going to be the most realistic practice that you're going to get before you do your skydive. So here, everybody should know the order of the jump. Everybody should be nice and quiet, and you should be able to walk through that jump without any interruptions so that everybody's on the same pace and in real time of what the jump's gonna look like. Once you've done your dirt dives, it's time to move on to the plane. And this is where we do our mental rehearsals. So you get in the plane and the plane starts to climb up. Now is a good time to visualize that jump on your own. You want to go through all those steps that you did in your dirt dive and hit all those key components that we talked about in the jump planning. And you're going to want to do this by yourself, keep your eyes closed, and just run through that list so that you feel comfortable with what you're going to be doing. The next one is when we're almost at altitude, you want to get everybody that's on the jump together and do one last out loud walk through that jump. You're going to go through the key steps, everybody's going to have that final confirmation, and then it's time to rock your skydive. So now that we know what a dirt dive is and what mental rehearsals are and when we need to do them, let's talk about how we do them. So the first step in the dirt dive is the climb out. And this is the part where we go from moving from our seat to the position that we want to be in just before we exit the plane. If we're by ourselves, this step is pretty simple. You're just going to stand up and move into position. But if you're with other people, you just need to make sure who's going to be outside the plane and who's going to be inside the plane. Step 2 is the exit. At this point, we know what kind of exit we want to do. So we just want to make sure that we're practicing it properly with a proper emphasis on a clear count and nice timing so that everybody leaves the plane at the same time and good body position. Step 3 is the free fall sequence. Once you've exited the plane, it's now time to go over what you're going to do during the free fall of the skydive. So you want to make sure that you're really focusing on taking your time, making sure you have proper altitude awareness, and making sure that you're focusing on the right technique that you need to successfully perform the maneuvers. So step 4 is the break off. At this point, we practice our free fall sequence. Now we want to acknowledge that everybody's at break off altitude, and you want to make sure that you're practicing a good clearing of your airspace and walking away from everybody as if you were flying away from everyone on the jump. Step number 5 is the deployment. At this point, we've broken away from everybody, and we want to focus on having that right technique. So make sure that you're looking around, you're checking your airspace, give yourself a nice big wave off, and then do a nice big practice pull to simulate pulling your parachute. Now, you want to do this as realistic as possible because the more realistic you can make your practice on the ground, the better prepared you're going to be to do it while you're skydiving. So step number 6 is our post-deployment checklist. We've gone through deploying our parachute, and now we want to practice what we're going to do once the parachute's open. Remember, skydiving doesn't end when you pull your parachute. You have a whole other discipline to practice. So you want to open it up and pretend like the parachute's above your head, and you're going to go through your canopy control check. So you want to practice actually doing your brakes and your turns. Then you want to do your orientation. So pretend that you're putting yourself towards the drop zone to start flying back to the landing area. And finally, you want to do your last little emergency procedure check to make sure that you're locating your handles when you're under canopy. Step number 7 is your canopy exercises. So now that we've visualized opening up our parachute, it's time to practice the canopy drills. So at this point, just like our free fall, we want to make sure that we're focusing on the right technique and practicing the right sequence. So go ahead and visualize yourself under canopy, check your airspace, check your altitude, and then actually physically practice what you're going to be doing underneath that parachute to kind of drill at it and build that muscle memory. Step number 8 is the landing pattern. At this point, we've practiced our canopy drills and we've made our way back to the holding area to start our landing pattern. A good practice would be to go see the aerial view of your drop zone and walk through this landing pattern looking at the map to see where the different points of your landing pattern are going to be. It's going to give you a good visual representation of what you're going to be looking at while you're under canopy, and it's going to, again, make it more realistic of a practice so that you're better prepared when you're doing your skydive. So step number 9 is landing your parachute. At this point, we've just finished doing our landing pattern and we're coming in on our final approach to do that final flare. And just like our canopy exercises and our free fall exercises, you want to really focus on developing that right timing and that right technique. Sweet. All right, and that's a wrap for today's video. So I just finished doing my dirt dive, and now I'm going to make my way to the plane where I'm going to do my final mental rehearsals and visualization. Before I do that, just want to say a quick thank you guys for watching this episode. We hope you enjoyed it. Now, don't forget to click the link in the description below to check out the full article, but we'll see you next time. Who's guys?